Hi everyone, welcome to the GameChangers Podcast. I'm Michael, this is Jeff, Simon, and another guest on today, the Phantom Siren. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Can we kick off, please, Phantom?
Still got it.
So Jeff's known the Phantom for many years now. How'd that come about, if you don't mind me asking?
I met Ghosh, I was probably about 35 years ago. We used to play footy. I met him as a young bloke. We used to play footy in the park at Croydon. And Ghosh's real name is Fadi, but the story behind his name is when Ghosh moved to the area, he was telling everybody that his cousin, or Steve Goshen, who coached West in 86 and 87, he told everybody he was Steve Goshen's cousin. And I think they're not cousins, but they're from the same village.
Yeah, my cousin's first. Cousins.
And that's where the nickname is stuck. So everybody just calls him Ghosh.
Yeah, because what happened when I moved to Croydon, there was a lot of people, all the boys, Jeff and the boy, playing under Steve Gosh because he was the Western Suburbs coach.
That's right, my brother.
Jim.
Jim played under
and
Steve.
Fred Abraham and a couple of other boys. And they said, Steve Gosh and Ghosh, and then it stuck from the same village, and then Ghosh. My wife didn't even know my name was Fadi. She goes, Ghosh? Who's Fadi?
If I'd have known like Fadi, I'd be calling myself Ghosh too.
That's a fair point.
But Ghosh, I've known you for a long time. I even coached you, and a very illustrious career. I think it was 7 games. But
All off the bench.
Hooker.
Nice.
What drew you? Because I know that you've got a brother as well, Danny, who's a fanatical supporter as well. But what drew you to rugby league?
Just family, friends growing up in that Lebanese community. Even you guys, fanatical St George supporters, and we idolised the Abrahams in a way where St George, and cousin of ours, Robert Gebron, like an older bloke, loved St George, and we all followed him. And then, as I say, the rest is history.
Yeah.
And it was just a good club to follow.
What do you think? Why do you think so many Lebanese people or people of Lebanese descent follow rugby league when they come to Australia?
It's just a manly game. We always got brought up in that sort of manly sort of rugby league game where, with utmost respect, soccer was more of a girls' game, like we thought, but it isn't worldwide. But it was just sort of, we always wanted to play that, and then it was just people that you sort of hung out with.
I think
grew up with.
I think the older generation too, Simon. Just to add to what Ghosh is saying, because it's St George, a lot of the older Christians and Maronites, and there's still, I mean, there are a lot of other, denominations that follow St George, but especially with the Lebanese, because my uncle started supporting St George because it was St George.
Right. And there's a church, St George.
There's St George at Redfern.
Yeah, that's right.
So it was just, I mean, but you're right, I mean, it's the manly thing, and it's a tough game, and
we always wanted to play it at school. None of the boys around the areas played that soccer. It was always rugby league, talk. And
how did your parents go when you said, I want to play rugby league?
They weren't happy. I had to hide my boots. I just played probably from year under 13s.
Yeah.
That's where we probably should have finished.
Under 13s, and went to Christian Brothers Lewisham, and then played a couple of years at Ryde Eastwood under Jeff and good.
You played with Solo, didn't you?
Solomon Hamano, Charlie Yacob.
Wow, okay.
All those sort of guys that sort of prolonged their careers. So
Other than Laurie Nichols, and I don't say this lightly, I'm not being smart, but other than Laurie Nichols, you're probably the highest profile
pest.
Well, they used to call you the pest because you used to stop games. But that's not employed by the club. I mean, everybody that I know is aware of you. I mean, how did the Phantoms? I mean, how did the Siren start? I mean, where did it come from?
Well, just probably 99, 2000. No word of a lie. I was in the shower, and I'd done this stretch, and I went. That sounds like the Siren. So I remember that day Saints were playing West Tigers.
Was that at Wollongong?
Wollongong. And I remember Craig Field was feeding the ball in the scrum, and then
it was just before half time. Yeah, I remember that.
A minute to go, or 20. Yeah, probably about a minute 10 to go. And then something
Trust me, I know this.
yeah, and
I know
something
this.
just sounded like a siren, and the game just completely.
Sean
stopped.
Hamstead was the referee.
I've seen the video.
Yeah, it's been on that when I was on the fan.
We
and
got
whatnot.
the ball. Sorry, Tigers got the ball, and it
20
was like
metres out.
20 minutes, and it was tackle 2. It was like 48 seconds left. The siren, and he's walked the field, and I'm like, hey, I said, we had a whole set there. Nah, game stopped.
It was that authentic. It just. And ever since, got on 10 and the radio and...
Well, you've been interviewed. I think there was an article on you in the Rugby League Week, am I right?
Yeah.
You've been interviewed by Vossi.
Yes, good man. Great man.
And so you got a bit of a profile there.
Yeah. First bloke to invent something that's made no money. So
that's a fair
but it's
call.
all fun and games, and it was just funny.
So, how many games have you actually stopped?
Probably 4 or 5, because now these day and age, even 5-6 years ago, they're all mic'd up.
Yeah.
But you always hear them say, no, that's the Phantom, that's the Phantom. Play on, play on.
That's good.
And when
I've seen it firsthand because obviously Fadi sits next to us at Cogger, and you sort of, back in those days, you'd look at the time clock and you'd think, oh God, he's about to do it again.
Yeah.
He's about to do it again. And
I'll tell you, the first time I ever saw you was 2001. I was at Leichhardt Oval, and Parramatta were giving the Tigers a hiding.
Yeah.
Right? And it was about 10 minutes into the second half. I walked down the grandstand. I thought I'm going to make an early getaway. I didn't know who you were. I'd never met you. And I heard you were standing with a few people. And I heard you say, oh, boys, stand around me. And I looked, and all these guys stood around you. And you've just done it. And I just looked away. And I was praying they were going to come along. in this nightmare for me, boys.
Finish it.
But no, the game continued.
Yeah, no, it was always a bit of security and all that. And funny.
So good. Were there ever any punishments? Like, did the NRL ever say, we know who that guy is and he needs
No,
to...
not at all. I was just kept telling them I'm a fan that's just doing my thing, screaming. And then you had kids and people trying to mimic the siren. That's why I called them mini vanillis. I told them there's the only one. But it was just a bit of fun and games, but something so silly can make something like an NRL game stop.
But you've got a profile out of it as well. And, and we're going to touch on some of those things in a moment. Michael?
What is it? Sorry?
The profile and what he's involved with.
Yeah. So in more recent years, we've seen you involved with Anthony Mundine.
Yeah.
Would like to know how that relationship began and where it's developed and where it's at the moment.
You're probably it's probably 30 years now I've known Choc. Probably 1991. For growing up in Christian Brothers Lewisham, our friends like Solomon Hamano, good friends Charlie Jacob, were playing weekend football. Remember Tom Farrell, the late Tom Farrell.
Yep.
I used to go watch him because we year 11, 12 to go watch your mates play park football. And then Anthony and Sol and all that were playing together, and Charlie and whatnot against each other. And then we formed a friendship, a bondship that's still strong as today, 30 years later. Been through his ups and downs and through rugby league, his boxing and whatnot, and it's just been an unbelievable ride.
He was a wonderful player because, I mean, obviously we saw a lot of him go play for St George, and and I know I'm a little bit biased, but he just gave us so much joy, and and this is from a selfish point of view, I just wish he'd played a little bit longer because I just don't think we saw like 3 or 4 really good years, but I just think he was the type of player that could have played 10, 12, maybe 15 years.
Yeah, like a Cameron Smith.
Yeah, and but obviously he had other ambitions, and you were involved with that, with his, because I remember you being in the corner and,
being just a mate, just a supportive mate.
Yeah.
As I said earlier, being through his ups and downs. And people don't understand what these athletes go through. It's just not sort of rock up on the day and fight, you win, lose. It's the prep work, it's the diet, it's making the weight.
Yeah.
So it's a tough gig.
Michael's a football nut, and he often asked me, like, oh, Dad, so who was Anthony Mundine most similar to?
Because I was a bit young to watch you play.
And I said, well, I guess Benji. Really, that ability to just turn off the cuff and do something. And it's funny because I think Choc ended up playing about 6 or 7 seasons. If he would have stayed another 5 or 6, because he left Was he 25?
25, 26.
With all respect to
He's
Benji,
left at his prime.
Yeah, he
I
was.
think if he would have played to 31, 32, I think he could have been better.
And credit to Benji, he's still going.
He's still going,
dominating,
yeah.
you know what I mean?
You have to
So-
think if Benji's still playing at what he is now, 35 to 36, well, what Chop could have done same age.
with respect to Benji, if I was to compare the players, I mean, obviously he's had a long and distinguished career, but I mean, I saw some toughness in Chalk defensively.
Yeah,
you know, people underestimated how actually tough he was, and you know, Saints had a pretty good those few years he was at St George. I mean, they had a bit of success there, and you know, we always hark back to, and I have this debate all the time about Chalk. How people say that he lost us the 99 grand final. Well, let me assure you, we wouldn't have got there without him, because that final series still will live in my memory till the day I die. I mean,
100%.
you know, and you don't lose grand finals from 14-2 down.
That's exactly what
I
I
mean,
was saying.
you know, you can...
And we scored after that 14.
100%.
14-2,
And people
whatever
forget
it was,
that,
and
yeah.
they forget that. And he brought us there. And if he passed it, and Wishart knocks it on, why didn't Anthony go himself? So when Anthony went to put the ball down, the vision is it Smith? Which Smith was it? The centre that knocked.
Scored. Craig
Yeah,
Smith.
Craig Smith, yeah.
knocked the ball. His knee hit the ball, and Anthony
That's
dropped
right.
it.
Yeah.
And then it just happened. But 99, when he got us there against
One of
Cronulla,
the-
and one of the most, not being biased, probably one of the best individual performance I've ever seen in 40 minutes of any
It was
human
incredible.
But you think, like, everyone talks about, like, Jared Hayne in 2009 and then Ben Barber in 2012. Him and Blacklock in 99
being. Unstoppable.
was unstoppable. Mate. People used to go there, okay, now they've scored the try, now we want to watch them do somersaults.
That's right.
Yeah.
It was just, mate, it literally had crowds flocking to watch it.
It was entertainment
Oh,
plus.
man, it was
They
amazing.
were, and David Waite actually let him play footy that year.
Mate, I spoke to David Waite about a couple of weeks ago. He couldn't make it to Mundine's press conference. He goes, mate, he was just phenomenal. I loved every minute of it. And if it wasn't for him, as Jeff said, it's a team effort, but in that circumstance where Anthony was playing for us, we wouldn't have got where we got.
It was crazy. Why was Nathan Blacklock on TV that we were watching it?
They were showing one of his tries was similar to one of the
Yeah,
tries that
yeah.
was scored against the Tigers.
That's right.
But they had it,
Josh Adokar, was it?
The hammer from
Yes,
the Cowboys.
that's the Cowboys. That's right.
So-
Same.
Oh, I saw that.
It's a
Yeah.
very similar try.
They showed about 10 tries that Nathan Blacklock scored, and me and Mike were saying every try he scored, he was in the middle of the field. He wasn't just a winger. He used to hunt in the middle. He'd chase kicks. They'd grab.
He was the leading try scorer for 3 years in a row.
And he didn't make New South Wales.
Yeah.
Why?
Oh, Nathan Blacklock did play one game, I think.
Did he?
I think.
No, he didn't.
He went to the
Origin.
Waratahs.
He did not. Did
Actually,
not
you
play
know
Origin.
what? You might be right.
Yeah.
You might be
should.
right.
Him and Merritt, those back in those days,
Yeah.
weren't, and they never got picked and whatnot. So
True.
With those fights, I mean, you went to a lot of the fights
Yep.
that Anthony fought in. Do you have any, like, are there any special memories? Are there any bad memories that...
every one of them was special. Everyone got goosebumps now because when you're part of it, you're so nervous. It's like you're fighting, like a brother fighting, like a mate fighting.
Yeah.
It's like you're in the ring. Your heart's just going 100 miles an
Man,
hour.
I'm getting that excited. I'm going to put one on your chin now.
And it's like you're in the ring with him because you see it, the adrenaline and what you see inside being part of these guys' life, like you guys with Brownie and whatnot. You just want them to excel and succeed.
Yeah.
And people mocking that, but if it was that
Yes.
easy, go do it.
It's funny you say that because you become close to people. Like I went a few weeks ago to watch St George and the Warriors, and obviously Nathan Brown was coaching the Warriors, and normally I walk out of a ground after Saints have lost and I'm kicking stones and it was funny because I was just torn a little bit because I was happy for
100%.
for Nathan to because I'm happy for him to do well. So you're right. You do have that loyalty to that particular person.
Exactly right.
I still want St George to win.
But you were happy for a mate. that
Absolutely.
He's a good bloke,
Yeah.
good friend of yours, and you want him to succeed.
Absolutely.
It's like when Amos Roberts, another close friend of ours, when he was playing at the Roosters, he came from St George, and I was going to more Roosters game than St George games. To follow a mate to be part of that success, to wish him luck, you know what I mean?
So was there a particular fight that you that sticks
Danny
in?
Green.
The Danny
Danny
Green. So
Green.
you were in the corner.
Yeah, like not actually corner, but right near there.
Yeah.
With the mate Stephen Brown and whatnot. But it was just unbelievable. The experience you can probably even Otke was an experience when he nearly won.
Yeah.
And then just of late, Otke just came out in the Ring magazine saying,
I read that.
who was your hardest fight? 10 categories. He had Mundine in the 8 out of the 10 categories.
Do you think that if he won that fight, because he was in that fight up until he got knocked out?
Round 8,
Do you think
nine.
he's
It was only his 8th professional fight or something.
10th fight.
10th fight.
Otke had more title defences than Mundine had fights.
Do you think that his career would have gone a different way if he had beaten Otke?
Not at all.
No.
He lost and everyone would have thought he'll go back to league, but he stuck it out. And I praise Jared Hayne and Holmes for going to a different sport, but not fail, but they didn't make it, but they've resorted back to league. Mundine got knocked out in his 10th fight. He could have back to the rugby league.
But
They still make as much money.
Gosh, that comes down to Aussies. We just want to knock everybody. If Jared Hayne and even Sonny Bill going to Union and if they were American, they'd be revered, mate. They'd be idolised. You get people
100%.
like Bo Jackson and Deion Sanders, and Michael Jordan went from basketball to baseball. These people are revered. Like, oh, what an athlete! We want to knock him down.
Talk
Like, what does he want to do that for?
Yeah, so, but that comes from a bit of tribalism, and we're so passionate about our club as well.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, I say good on them.
That's
Yeah.
Right?
You
Have
just
a go.
That's it.
It's the Aussie way to have a go. But there's that element of people, right, that just want to drag you down.
That's right.
The build up to those. You've obviously known him for a long time.
Yeah.
And we've seen it in America, Gosh, how, they put on a performance. And he tried to, and we can't hide from the fact, he tried to mimic that to try and sell his fights, which obviously worked. The perception of him, and we can't hide from this, right? You either love him or you hate him. And you probably know him better than anybody, right? Because you're in business with him now, and we'll get to that in a minute. But, and I've only met him a couple of times, and I've always found him to be a gentleman, polite, courteous, always puts his hand out. From a personal point of view, what's all that about?
You don't blame the public for not liking him just because they don't know him. But when they do meet him as a human being, as an individual, it changes the tune. Because when we talk about the business, we go in corporate meetings with your T1s and they think which Anthony Mundine's going to show up. But he's just a quiet, cool cat where you think, is that really Anthony Mundine?
Because he was really only trying to sell fights.
Entertainer. One's an entertainer and one's Anthony Mundine. As Matty John said on the face-to-face, Chock's the entertainer and Anthony Mundine's Anthony Mundine, the real genuine bloke. Chock was still genuine, but it was his upbeat to sell a fight, to get bums on seats. There was more people paying to watch him get knocked out, but he made a substantial amount of money.
That's it.
And good luck to him. And good luck. There'll be... I'm not saying boxing's dead now, and you got Tim Tszyu, that's a great fighter, but quiet. He's not going to sell and make that money and make that noise as an Anthony Mundine.
Yeah, you can tell he tries his best, but he's not the...
It's not his charisma.
He doesn't have that. And you're right.
I'll say this though, Anthony left St George and started boxing in 2000. At the time, Australian boxing was dead. He put it on the map.
Well, there's a lot of boxers, and it's been said, and I listen a lot to Paul Kent, and because I think he's a wonderful journalist, and he always says that a lot of the boxers that Anthony Mundine has fought, they should basically kiss the ground that he's walked on.
He's given
He's given them an opportunity
That's right.
to make money, money that they probably would never have made unless they,
gone overseas or whatnot.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
and you got to think, Anthony, when you left St George, 99, 2000?
2000.
He left a $650,000 contract, a non-representative player, and went to the unknown. When he went to boxing and he was Jared Zoss, he didn't know how much money he was going to make. It was the unknown. So he left Upton Grove, $600,000.
Would he have been one of the highest paid players in the game at the time?
100%.
Because he was at the highest paid at St George.
Non-representative. And now, back in those days, off the cuff, you can say 6, 7, 5, 8s. Daly, Johns, Walters, Fittler. Now you got to think who's the 5, 8s. Off the cuff, you're not going to remember them all. Or there's no... That era was so much better in quality.
You're actually making sense, Gosh, and this is worrying me. This is actually worrying me.
That's what I tell people. So the unknown walked into boxing. Like Sonny Bill's a great athlete, but he's always knows where he's going to. Yeah. He's got from the All Blacks to the Roosters. He knows that dollar factor and that dollar value. Where Mundine went from $600 to no dollars, and he made.
He backed himself.
And he backed himself, and he gave, as Jeff said, everyone a good payday.
Can we move forward to the present?
Yeah.
MGM. You're in business with Anthony at the moment?
Yeah, MGM stands for Mundine Ghost Management. We started this in 2016, and knowing him for a long time, I sat with him and I said, Anthony, got this sort of business venture that every government contract's got to give Indigenous participation and engagement. And they said, mate, I'm all for it, because as everyone knows, he's passionate about his people. He gives back unbelievably. Behind the scenes, that's what makes a champion, where he goes to hospitals when there's no cameras. He goes to jail visits.
And that's the thing that we don't see.
And he doesn't, yeah, that's right. The
He
public
doesn't
can't
want you to
see.
see.
That's right.
Yeah, he doesn't want you to
Where
see.
he doesn't ring the cameras and say, he does it
So
from
what
the
it's
heart.
telling us is that he's a very humble man.
Genuine. And just giving back, employing Indigenous youths, and just giving them a head start and empowering them if they want to, and putting that Anthony Mundine in any sort of frame, it attracts people, opens doors.
And that's what these balls are about here.
That's right. Indigenous round, hopefully we can get them out there and give back to every code and whatnot. So, and mocking up these footies and saying,
I think it's a great cause, because I think with the Indigenous people, I mean, the talent we see, not just in rugby league, but in other sports as well, it's all there to see.
That's right.
And you can only imagine just within the whole country how many more talented people there are. And I suppose what they're looking for is a bit of opportunity. But in saying that too, Ghosh, they need that discipline. If they get involved in that, it's about discipline as well, and that, which is what Anthony has shown throughout his career.
That's right.
And not just him, but we're talking, there's Adam Gourds, and there's,
Michael O'Loughlin.
Michael O'Loughlin and Ash Barty and
Latrell
all those.
Mitchell, and all those sort of guys. And never drunk, never smoked, never put those poisons in his hip. So he's got that sort of vision and that right direction to sort of empower the next generation. And that's what he always wants to do, and that's what he's doing at the moment. So I say good luck to all. If you're helping, good luck. Doesn't have to be a mundane. It could be Joe Blow from the street. You're helping. You're
Or
trying
could be
to.
Fadi Daha.
Could be Fadi Daho, the Paul Langmack, yesterday's hero.
We'll wrap it up there. Thanks for coming
I
on the
really
show.
appreciate you coming, mate.
Thank you. Thank me for having
Just so
me.
you
Thank for
know, I
having
mean, we briefed you on this. This is about a fan's perspective.
It's
and,
fun.
I'm glad you enjoyed it. And
Loved it.
Yeah, I think the only way to finish us off would be with a full-time siren.
Sorry, no problem.
Thanks, guys.
Wonderful.